Oh, elder fraud cost Americans over the age of 60 more than $966 million in 2020, and that's according to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. Here and in other countries, it's a growing problem as criminals increasingly use online scams to target older adults, especially those who are living alone. Greetings, I'm Michael Hidman. I'm the executive editor of Herald Community Newspapers and your host today for yet another informative Herald InsideLI webinar. Today's webinar is the second part of our two-part webinar series on elder fraud abuse, sponsored by AARP Long Island. Joining us today once again, Donna Harris. She is the public information representative of the U.S. Postal Inspection Service headquarters, as well as Michael Del Giudice. He is the postal inspector and team leader of the New York Postal Inspection Division. Donna and Michael will discuss how to help protect yourself from fraud and scams, and they'll cover common scams that target the over 50 community. And of course, joining us is our good friend Bernard Macias. He is the Associate State Director of AARP Long Island. Good afternoon, Bernard. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Michael. Thank you. Greetings, everyone. On behalf of AARP New York, I would like to welcome all of you to our second fraud webinar, Fighting Against Fraud, really important stuff. I am the Associate State Director for AARP right here on Long Island. I serve close to 500,000 members across Nassau and Suffolk. We have 2.4 million members in New York State and 38 million members nationwide. A little bit more about AARP. We're the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization, empowering people 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. We work to strengthen communities and advocate for what matters most to families, on a special focus on health security, financial stability, and personal fulfillment. So remember this about AARP. We're all about health, wealth, and self. And today we're talking about protecting your wealth with AARP Long Island and Herald to present this two-part webinar series on fraud. And we're sponsoring a number of free in-person shredding events. So really important for you to show up to our shredding events. I'll share a little bit more information about that. But today, please listen up to our U.S. Postal Inspection Service friends who are here today to show and share how you can protect yourself from scams and fraud, because knowledge is power. So again, pay attention and share what you learned today. Last week we covered identity theft. Today we're covering elder fraud. And again, about those free shredding events, we'll share more information about that today. But just know that on Saturday, this Saturday, April 22nd, we have our first shredding kickoff in Garden City from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then we have a shred event on May 6th in New Hyde Park and May 20th in Farmingdale. We also have shreddings out in Suffolk as well. So if you want to learn more, I'm going to post information in the chat and it's with some links. So Mike, right back to you in the program.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Bernard. I'm very excited to hear about all the shredding events, and here there might be some special guests and such as well. So it's definitely worth coming out and getting stuff shredded and seeing what happens, and meeting some great people. So Donna, Michael, this is your show. You have all the information, all the everything we're looking for. So I'm going to turn this right over to you.
Thank you so much, Michael, and thank you to everyone for having us today. I'm Donna Harris, the public information representative for headquarters from the Postal Inspection Service, and joining me today is your audio is a little off, Michael.
I'm sorry. My name is Michael Del Giudice. I'm a postal inspector team leader. I am a supervisor of one of our mail fraud teams.
So certainly this is his wheelhouse. I'm going to get this started by sharing my screen. So if you just give me a moment to do that. I think I already have it shared pretty much. And I'm going to go back to the first slide, if you don't mind, if I can, if it lets me. Great. So I want to tell you a little bit about our agency. For those of you who don't know about the Postal Inspection Service, we are the oldest federal law enforcement agency dating back to August 7, 1775. We enforce over 200 federal statutes ranging from mail theft to mail fraud, child exploitation, cybercrime, bombs in the mail, drugs in the mail. So we have a huge discipline that we cover when it comes to mail fraud, mail theft, and those other federal statutes. Anything that has a nexus to the U.S. mail touches the Postal Inspection Service. And certainly mail fraud is one of those things. So as Michael and Bernard mentioned, we want to talk to you about telemarketing and mail fraud today. It's interesting because just as we talked last week about spam, phishing, identity theft, and those type of things, every year, thousands of people lose money to fraudsters. For some people, a few dollars, some thousands, and their life savings. Scammers are adept at, pulling you in with a fantastic pitch on what it is you need to do in order to win a prize, a lottery, any type of scam, anything they can think of is what they'll use to lure you into their world, taking your money, your life savings, and in many cases, as we've seen in the inspection service, your home. Mike, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate what you said, it's the amount of scams, we just see them increase exponentially where scammers are just trying to take either your hard-earned money or your loved one's money, your parents or your aunts or uncles or relatives, and there are just so many different ones out there, and they become very believable, trying to make you think that you've won a prize or that someone's in trouble to get money out of you, and they won't stop until they get your money from you or your loved one's money. So, like you said, Donna, some people lose just a little bit of money, and some people lose hundreds of thousands of dollars, their homes, their life savings. So, it's a big problem.
And these are some of the things that we're going to cover today: lottery, sweepstakes, grandparent scams, charity fraud, and so on. A lot of times when I'm at doing a workshop and I'm talking to the audience, or I'm giving out information, people tell me all the time, I'm too smart for that. I'll never be a victim of a scam. But that's not so. Anyone could be a victim of a scam, and that's really the important thing. Some of the pitches that we receive are very clever and can seem, when you think of an imposter scam, something of that nature, where a grandparent scam or other scams, individuals pretend to be other people, and that's how, one of the ways you become a victim. So speaking of scams, in 2022, $8.8 billion, according to the Federal Trade Commission, was lost to scams, lottery, sweepstakes, and other scams. That's a 54% increase from the prior year. So even though we talk about this a lot and we give prevention tips, it seems that, people are still falling victim to these scams. And that's why it's so important to give this information out today, but also to take the information that you get today and share it with others so that we can get those numbers down and put the fraudsters where they need to be, behind bars. I talked to you a little bit, said I was going to talk to you about lottery fraud. I want to show this video of a victim, and this is really interesting, and how she felt when she thought she won, but then when she found out she didn't, what her world really turned into.
When this first happened, I felt like the dummy of the year. I really felt, well, how stupid can you be? One day I received a letter in the mail informing me that I had won a sweepstakes. I thought it was real because they sent me an advance on it to help me pay the fees and, the taxes on the money and all that. I think I kind of got caught up in the hope of it all. Like, wow, here's a break. Who can use $165,000 in this day and age? And I was told in the letter to deposit the check into my banking account, and in a couple of days, withdraw the amount that I needed to send. Then I was contacted again, asking for more money. Thinking back, I see where he was kind of rushing me through the process, because he knew that it was only a small window of time before I'd know it was a bad check. So he said to me, well, the check is deposited, so you go back in a day or two now so that you can send me the money. He says, I'm ready to send off your check. He said it would be to me in 48 hours. I wired over $3,000 to Canada. And then 2 days later, I found out the check had been returned to my bank, and my account was overdrawn thousands of dollars. And so when it came crashing down, I felt so stupid. I felt like I just wanted to go to bed and never come out of bed again. I almost went into a deep depression. That's where I'm at now, trying to figure out how I'm going to clean this up, you know, and still live.
And that's just an example of and the impact being caught up in one of these lottery schemes could have on someone that really maybe doesn't realize how this impacts their banking, how it impacts their finances, thinking that they got a great pitch for a win. So, Michael, I'm going to turn this over to you, Michael D. And go ahead. Just let me know when
Donna.
to move the slides. Okay.
Will do. Thanks. So as you saw in the video, and as Donna mentioned, you know, they get you hook, line, and sinker. The scammers, they try and, you know, send you something in the mail, send you a solicitation, and make it look like it was Mega Millions, maybe possibly Publishers Clearinghouse, maybe some other sweepstakes, or you get a phone call and say, you know, today's your lucky day, you've won, and you know, but you've won $1 million, or maybe you'll get an email and they'll say that, you know, a relative of yours has passed away that you didn't know, and they trace back your lineage or your heritage, and, you know, you're the sole heir to their estate, which is $38 million, and, you know, all you need to do is contact them right away. And, you know, again, there's just a lot of different tactics, be it in the mail, be it an email, a text message, a phone call, where, you know, scammers will try and get in contact with you to tell you that you've won a sweepstakes or a prize. So in reality, it's actually illegal in the U.S. to mail lottery tickets or advertisements or payments to purchase foreign lottery sweepstakes. You know, as Donna said before, as you saw in the video, you're never going to win. They're going to make it sound like you've, you know, won. They're going to make it sound so appealing to you that, you know, today is your lucky day. But, you know, the catch-all is if you didn't enter anything, you're not going to win anything. It's not going to happen just out of the blue. And, you know, the catchphrase with all these scammers and all these things is you have to send me money to pay taxes or to pay the fee to collect your winnings. And then once you do that, then they'll release, you know, the money. You'll get your $10 million. And, you know, there's been times where some people who have unfortunately ultimately gotten scammed have said, well, you know, if I'm winning, you know, $10 million, to take my taxes and fees out of that money. And then they'll basically turn around and say, no, we can't do that. Like it's you know, locked up until we receive this money from you. We can't release your winnings. So, you know, the biggest thing is that it doesn't necessarily either happen all at one time. So if you get a phone call from a scammer who says you've won a sweepstakes or lottery, they're going to try and convince you that you've won. So it may not happen in that first phone call, or it may not happen with that first letter, but they're gonna continue to call until they can convince you. And, you know, as you see the 4 C's, they're gonna coach you on what to tell your family members or what not to say to a family member, because, you know, you don't want to spoil a surprise that you're winning and you're gonna come into all this money. So they'll basically coach you to keep it a secret, or, you know, a father or a mother, or, you know, your parents or aunts or uncles or whomever, an elderly relative or friend, and then they're basically going to keep doing it until they collect, and, you know, when they get your money. And but the thing is with that they don't stop. Once they know that they have your money and that you're good for giving them money, they're going to continue to try and tell you that you need to send a little bit more money until, you know, then you'll get your winnings. And, you know, they're just going to keep doing it until finally that, you know, it stops. Either, you know, whoever the victim is, that until the money stops coming, until there's no more money to get out of you or, you know, a loved one or a friend, they're just going to continue to get that and then move on to the next person. That's what they do. So Donna, next slide, please. Unless you had anything you wanted to add, by the way.
No, good. You can talk about this now. Thanks.
Okay, sure. So, and that going hand in hand is now the scammers they've gotten smarter. So no longer do they just say, hey, you have to send me money or go deposit money from, take money out of your bank and then mail it to me or FedEx it to me or something like that, or send me a cashier's check or a money order. But now what they have you do is go to, they want to get gift cards or debit cards, or maybe they'll get you to buy them an airline ticket. And the beauty of this for them is if you go into Target or Walmart or your local supermarket or any pharmacy, CVS or Walgreens or whatever you use, everybody sells gift cards nowadays, right? They sell gift cards for pretty much anything that you want. iTunes, Home Depot, prepaid gift cards that have $100, $500 value, green dot cards. And what they'll basically tell you to do is, all right, for you to collect your winnings, go into this local store, buy, $2,000 worth of green dot cards, and once you have those cards, then call me back. And, once the victim goes and buys those cards, they'll say, okay, great. Now on the number, there's a serial number on the back. There's a number. Yeah, give me that number. And once you give me that, then we'll make sure that the card is valid, and you can then mail us the cards, to this, and we'll send you your check. Now, unfortunately, what's happening is as soon as those numbers are given to them, they're right away going and cashing those in. They're taking the money or whatever funds are there. So they don't even care. They don't need that physical iTunes card or prepaid debit card or, again, whatever gift card they're asking you to get. Now, the other problem, too, is they also insulate themselves. So, you're going to be talking with one person on the phone. And they're very devious, too. They'll use something called the Magic Jack, or, there's a Google Voice number or some other type of voice over IP service where they can mask their number. They can make it look like they're calling from the United States and they're actually, in a foreign country. And they'll make it appear that, hey, I'm here in the U.S. and, oh, by the way, mail your check to this person maybe in New York or this person in California, or mail those gift cards to this person, within the United States. And essentially what those people are what we call a mule. And a mule is basically an individual who may or may not know that they're actually being victimized as well. They may not even be in on the scam, just thinking that as part of, they're just another victim who says, okay, someone's going to send you this money. When you get it, you keep a little bit for yourself, and then you send the rest on. So sometimes they are participants in the scam where they're actually working with the scammer in a foreign country, and other times they're not. They're just, unfortunately, just a victim on the other end who was scammed, and now it's progressed to the next stage where they lost all their money and they can't send any more money, so they're receiving money from other victims, and then they're keeping a portion of that money, perhaps. So next slide, please, Donna. So again, just some prevention tips for foreign lotteries. Don't give any information out to someone who said you won, right? Sometimes they'll try and get a bank account number, they'll try and get a social security number, they'll try and get a date of birth aside from your money. So now they may have access to your personal information, and they will then use that to either open up credit card accounts or open up bank accounts, or unfortunately, may try and steal your identity and get into your bank account and just withdraw the money on their own. So, again, no one's ever going to call you, no legitimate person or company is ever going to call you and tell you that you've won and then ask you for all this personal identifying information. So never give personal information out, never give phone numbers, never give relatives' names out, never give bank account information. Again, no financial information, no credit cards or anything like that. Again, don't pay processing fees. If you've actually won something, you're not going to have to pay a processing fee to get your money. They're going to take it out just like, the New York State Lottery or Mega Millions or anything like that. If you win, I wish we all won, but the odds of that are slim to none. But if you do, they're going to take all those taxes out, either if they're paying you in a lump sum payment, or they're going to take them out progressively depending on how many payments you get. So that all happens on the back end before you even get the money. So you don't need to pay to receive the money. Next slide, please. And also, again, avoid sales pitches, right? Don't enter a prize or a sweepstakes drawing. Don't go to a free lunch seminar, don't respond to internet offers. There's always a catch, right? Like nothing is for free. A lot of times, you talk about these, you can get these hotel things, oh, come, stay at our hotel for free, but then you have to sign up and, look at what we're going to sell you, our timeshare, right? Like, so there's never anything, you never get something for nothing. Don't enter any prizes or sweepstakes, because a lot of times when you enter those prizes or sweepstakes, those generate what we call lead lists. And those basically will, has your personal information, has your name, has your phone number, has your address. And as you see here, this is a picture of what a lead list looks like. This might have been a compiled list of some, from something that you entered, either you went to a seminar or you entered online or you're in a store and you found some internet advertisement, but this is your personal information. And then a lot of time what companies will do, and unfortunately, like, there's no laws against it right now, but if they collect this third-party information, they have to notify you that they're going to sell your information. But they do that. They compile all this information and they sell it to other companies for marketing. Maybe you'll get like marketing material from Bed Bath & Beyond or something, from any company that you may have, that your information or these lead lists will be sold to. And then unfortunately, these lead lists can also be sold to scammers. And once they have this information, this is how they get your name, your telephone number. This is how they start calling you and trying to, or again, like when I use you, I mean victim or any individual who they're trying to scam. So next slide, please, Donna. So one of the other scams that we've been running into and seems to be happening a lot more, and especially during the time of COVID when there was lockdown and nobody was out, was the grandparent scam. And unfortunately, the grandparent scam is, a grandparent or, an elderly person will receive a phone call, or it could be an email from a purported grandchild, or maybe the police saying that, hey, grandma, grandpa, I'm in trouble, or hello, this is the police, we have your grandson here, he asked you to call us, or she asked us to call you because they didn't want to let their parents know. Or maybe there'll be a phone call that says, they were in a foreign country and they were traveling and they got hurt, and they need some money to be wired, as soon as possible. But the caveat is that, they're always saying that, hey, they don't want to call their parents because they know they're going to get in big trouble, so they're calling you. So they prey upon the elderly, prey upon grandparents. They'll do it either late at night when someone's woken up and they're not thinking clearly, or early in the morning. And then again, and sometimes we don't realize that we're doing this, but what'll happen is, if it's a grandparent saying, oh, your grandson called, and they'll say, oh, Jimmy's in trouble, and then they'll say, yeah, Jimmy, and then they'll say, oh, let me talk to Jimmy, and they'll say, put someone on the phone that's pretending to be Jimmy and say, grandma, grandpa, it's Jimmy, I need help me. And, again, taking advantage of the elderly person or the grandparent by, obviously who has sympathy for their grandchild or who they think is their grandchild, and, they'll make arrangements to send money, or they'll go get money, or they'll go to the bank, or they'll get, again, as we showed before, one of those gift cards, the iTunes gift cards, or, maybe a debit card. And again, they're just preying upon the vulnerability. Next slide, please, Donna.
Before we move on, I want to add one thing. The other thing is that, a lot of these scammers use social engineering by going out, trying to get your information, specifically on social media. They scour social media to find information out. And that's why we tell people all the time to limit what you post on social media. If you're going on vacation, if your grandkids or your friends or are going on vacation, limit that. You might want to post that information when you get back, as opposed to before you leave, because social media, while it's good to use to connect with people, also allows you to, it allows the scammers to have a window into your world. And so that's something you don't want. If you have a picture of, say, your grandchild on social media, on Facebook, any of the platforms, and you have the grandchild's name, that's like ripe pickings for a scammer. So the next video is, the next slide is a video of someone who was a victim or of a grandparent scam. Oops, let me go back one and click on the.
I said, what's wrong? You know, what's wrong? Well, I've been in an accident and I have 2 black eyes, I broke my nose, and I have stitches.
Genevieve was panicked when the person claiming to be her grandson told her he had been in an accident and hit another car. What happened next?
Now you have to talk to this gentleman. He's going to talk to you.
The second person claimed he was an attorney who needed a payment to keep Genevieve's grandson out of jail.
In order for him to not have this record and not have a jail sentence, you're going to have to pay lawyer fees.
The unusual fee, $9,000 in iTunes cards, so Genevieve immediately went to a store to buy them.
I was still scared because he had me so scared, you know, that you'll just ruin it all, you'll have to stay in jail.
Some may have found the request for iTunes cards suspicious, but Genevieve had no idea what the cards even were. Postal inspectors say suspects always use a sense of urgency in these cases.
Time was of the essence in her mind. She didn't know if he was injured. They're claiming that he has a broken nose. She's unsure if he's receiving medical attention.
That was one red flag.
If they tell you to keep it a secret, let that be a red flag. Call and verify the facts that they're telling you. Don't be quick to act, be quick to think.
I cannot believe that I fell for this.
In this case, Genevieve's family happened to stop by her house, and she quickly realized her grandson was at work, not in jail. How did the scam artist know her grandson's name? Social media may be to blame.
My daughter took all my information off Facebook. I don't even want to be on it. I don't even want to be on it anymore.
And as you can see, once again, it was social media and social engineering that caused this problem. Michael?
Thanks, Donna. So, yeah, just to kind of emphasize Donna's point, also social media, like especially during COVID, that was a way of communication, posting things on sites like Facebook, you know, calling people over the phone, but also losing that physical contact, right? Because everybody was on lockdown. So now, if someone calls you on the phone, you're more receptive to, because you want to talk, you want to strike up a conversation. So, you know, unfortunately, that was another avenue that scammers preyed upon victims, because they would, again, going back to the 4 C's that we talked about, you know, call, convince, coach, and then basically, you know, get the money, get the cash. So some, you know, grandparent scam prevention techniques, again, kind of like you saw in the video, just resist the pressure to act quickly, right? Like they're preying upon the weakness of, oh my God, I have a family member, I have a grandchild that's in trouble, I need to help them out. You know, hang up the phone, get a number, say, oh, we'll call you back, try and get in contact with, you know, your children or your grandchild, determine whether or not it's a fake call. And don't ever, you know, again, wire any money or send money or any information to someone over the phone. Again, if someone's legitimate, they're never going to, you know, call you over the phone and ask you to send money. They're never going to call you and ask you to, you know, send a gift card. They're, you know, especially overseas. You know, but once you send cash, once you wire it overseas, you know, it's gone. You know, once you give those gift card numbers, you know, or debit card numbers, they're gone. The money there, as fast as you give those numbers, are as fast as, you know, the scammers are just putting that money into their own account. And it's very, very difficult to get it back or to try to get it back, especially when we're talking about foreign countries. Next slide, please, Donna. So a lot of questions we get to, usually around the holiday season. There's a lot of you know, requests for money for charities. Everybody's always looking to, you know, get some money. And people will come up with, you know, charity names that sound legitimate, but they're not legitimate. You know, some examples here that Donna has listed. You can see Breast Cancer Society, Veterans Assistance Foundation, Children's Orphanage, A Child's Dream, Senior Security Line. So all these names are buzzwords that make us, compel us to feel sorry for, someone, children's cancer, right? Like, that's horrible. Breast cancer is, another horrible thing. Veterans assistance, Children's Orphanage, or, Senior Security Alliance. Again, preying on these terms that, elicit a feeling of, I have to help this person out, or I have to help them out, or I want to contribute, or, so they make these scam charities, and then they send you scam, pamphlets or flyers to make you think like they're legitimate, or you get a phone call say, I'm calling from this, so-and-so charity, we're looking for donations, or it's our annual drive, and, again, during the holiday seasons, everybody's in a, festive mood, in the giving spirit, and, they're more likely to give information or give a donation. But unfortunately, these scammers, they don't want to, get a check from you, or they don't want you to send money later. They want your credit card number over the phone right away, so they can go take your credit card and then go rack up charges on it. So, next slide, please, Donna. So, a way to combat this is number one, you can look up any charity. I mean, if they're really desperate or looking for contributions and you want to help them, say, all right, well, thank you for the information. Like, I can't contribute right now, but, I'll look into it, or, what's your website, or, what's your name, or how do I get back to you? And then you can do your own sort of research on the internet. You can, take a look, do searches for them to see. A lot of times, too, there's similar sounding names, so they'll make it seem like, you're actually donating to one charity, but, it's a different charity, but it just sounds the same. And again, donate by check, right? The check you can always cancel. You can stop mailing, stop a mailing, or before you mail it out, and make the check payable to the charity. Don't make a check payable to the individual. If you're making it payable to the individual, there's definitely something suspect about it. And, again, if they're very pressuring on the phone, it's most likely a scam. I mean, look, the great thing about being on the phone and receiving a phone call is you can hang the phone up. If you don't, if you don't like what you're hearing, you don't want to talk to them, thank you, goodbye, or just hang up. I mean, part of the problem too is a lot of the older generation is very, they're listening, they'll take the time, very polite, and unfortunately, sometimes that's what gets them into trouble, because they'll take the time to listen, and the longer you're on the phone with the scammers, the longer amount of time, or the more amount of time they have to try to convince you that they're legitimate, or that you've won a sweepstakes or lottery, or that you should contribute to their charity. So, next slide, please, Donna. So some other scams we see too are work from home scams, or job opportunities. There's very few scams or jobs that you're gonna be able to work from home and make more money than actually going, to a place of business. Again, if it sounds too good to be true, it definitely is. We've run into a lot of what we call reshifting scams, where some, again, foreign entities, maybe from Eastern Europe or something, will pretend that they are a very large company over in Europe, or a foreign company, but they're starting a U.S. company, and they are looking for shipping, receiving people. So they're going to have individuals send you packages, and then you're going to repackage them and then send them out to this company. And basically what that is you're receiving stolen goods somewhere in the foreign country, is purchasing these goods with stolen identities, sending them to you, and then having you, a legitimate person who thinks that you're working for a legitimate company, take these goods and then ship them off to them in their foreign country. Sometimes they want you to shop at a particular store because they need a particular item. A lot of times they'll want you to also, we're going to send you checks, or someone's going to mail you payments, just deposit these into your bank account and then send us the money with one of your checks, consolidate everything. The problem with that is all these checks are counterfeit, and by the time they clear in your account and you've already sent the money, the bank will pull that money back from you, and then you'll be out all the money that you just sent to the person that you, or the company you thought that you were working for. So again, there's very few work from home jobs that are legitimate. So again, how do you, prevent this? How do you prevent things? Again, don't give out your personal banking information, especially when you're applying for these jobs too. Like sometimes you'll get an email from, one of these career boards or these recruiter boards like Dice or whatever the up and coming ones are, that, hey, we found a job position that we think would match you perfectly. And they'll send it to you, and they'll send you the solicitation, and it'll look like a legitimate solicitation, and then you click on it, and it's an application to fill out, and then they're asking for all sorts of personal information. They're asking for your name, date of birth, social security number, bank account information, and this is the way that, they operate. So, if you didn't put your name up there, if you didn't put your resume up on a board, and you didn't get, but you got this solicitation, it's probably, someone that's just trying to scam you out of money. So again, if there's no salary or your salary is paid by money order, or you're asked to deposit a check, for more than your salary, but keep your salary and then send the rest to them, like it's most likely a scam. It's a fake check, and they're trying to get you to, send them the money. Always check with the Federal Trade Commission, the Better Business Bureau, the Attorney General, local consumer protection agencies regarding businesses. I mean, it's great. You just put the company name in, do a search, and you'll see a lot of, postings come up like, this is a scam, this company is not legitimate, I was scammed. So you want to be very careful of that. And also just do your own homework on a company, you don't want to lose your money or have your identity stolen because you responded to an advertisement that you never really asked for in the first place. Next slide, please, Donna. Okay, so some other fraud scams, investment scams. Again, this is, the phone call or the solicitation where you're getting, the too good to be true offer, right? Hey, we have this great rate of return. Back when interest rates were very low and you weren't getting much interest on your money, someone all of a sudden says, oh, they have this new investment, this new stock, and they're going to give you 20% return on your investment in the first 3 months, and then they'll continue for over a year. Again, if it sounds like you can't lose or it's too good to be true, it's a scam. There's bogus securities, investments, loans, counterfeit securities. Some people, what they'll do too is they'll have like a stock that they're heavily invested in. They may try and get other people to invest in it to say that it's a great stock, so that you raise the price of that stock up, and then all of a sudden they sell and everybody loses their money. Anything with a low risk promise and high returns is probably a scam. So, and especially things that you haven't heard of before. Next slide, please, Donna. So, again, risk reward, right? If it's too good to be true, it probably is. If they're pressuring you to do it, you want to be careful with that as well. You don't want to be pressured into doing anything, especially if, they're getting abusive on the phone and saying, you're missing out. Again, do an online search of the business or the individual name, check with the Attorney General's office, the Better Business Bureau, the Federal Trade Commission, because they'll all have listings on legitimate, companies and stocks. So, again, the promises of greatness or, high reward or a lot of money up front, it's probably a scam. Next slide, please. So now that we're in tax season, or tax season is just over, you're going to probably be getting a lot of those IRS calls, or leading up to it, the IRS imposter calls, where they're saying, that they're from the IRS, and they're going to request personal information. There's a problem with your tax return, or we haven't received it, or they might tell you that, hey, we found a problem with your tax return, but if you just pay us this money right now, then we'll clear it up and everything will be fine. Again, they're going to want ask for a payment right away over the phone or in a certain time frame, and they're going to give you an address to send it to. Again, I can't stress enough that no legitimate agency, company, government, agency is going to call you on the phone or email you and ask for money, personally identifiable information, your social security number, your date of birth, your cell phone number, your phone number, your address. No one will call, especially the IRS. Like, they have your information. They're not going to call and ask you for that information. And again, if you think there's a problem or you get an email, don't answer the email. If the IRS calls you, hang up the phone and find the appropriate number for IRS and then contact them, and they'll be able to tell you if there's an issue. But if you're getting a call from them, it's a scam. There's someone looking to get your money, to get your tax return. Again, I think I said this, like the IRS isn't calling, don't fall for the call, just hang up. No one's going to arrest you. I mean, that's the other big thing. It's like, oh, if you don't pay us, we're going to come and arrest you. It doesn't work that way. Just like the Law and Order or NCIS or whatever, no crime is solved in 45 minutes or 30 minutes. It takes a lot more to build a case and to put it, for something to happen. They're never just going to say, all right, well, if you don't pay us now, you're going to be arrested, or we're going to come arrest you now. So, again, call numbers on your bills, on the back of your credit card. If someone's saying that they're from this agency or that agency or this credit card company or this bank, call those numbers on the back of the cards, on your checks, on your bank statement, and, find out if there really is an issue or not. Next slide, please. So I think one of the other scams that we see too is what we call lonely heart scam or romance scam. Especially during COVID, again, in lockdown, there's probably a lot more people online, a lot more people chatting, and this is a great opportunity for scammers to, find you on these message boards, start talking to you, build a relationship, and, basically say that they love you, they want to marry you, or they want to live with you, or they want to be with you, and then they ask for money. They're going to come visit you, but they're in a foreign country, and they need money to get there, or they can't afford airfare, or the day that they're supposed to come, there's a problem, then there's a problem, they got into an accident, please send money for medical bills. So there's always a catch at the end, unfortunately. The bottom line is, like, if someone starts asking you for money, then it's a scammer. It's someone just trying to get your money. So, again, if any of the questions on the screen you answer yes to, then, as we say, like, run, don't walk away, because the scammer is just trying to get your money. Next slide, please, Donna.
And in this next slide, this is a video. So I want to show you this because I think this is very interesting. It's an animated video of just what a romance scam looks like. And this was done by the Netherlands. And once again, it's called Crime Without Blood. And just a note about that video and romance scams are on the rise. Over $1 billion was lost to romance scams in 2022. So, pay attention if someone really is trying to find when you're dating online, because everyone, especially if they try to take you offline and talk to you in a private forum, then that's a red flag. Michael?
Thanks, Donna. Yeah, so again, that's kind of what this is here. Again, as you saw in the video and here, this was, someone's stolen photo, was on a website somewhere, some on a business website, and the victim was having this online relationship with this person, or at least who they thought was this person. They talked to him for a year. They had pictures up. But in reality, it was a scammer on the other end that was just trying to get money from him. And they said, like, they're more or less groomed. They found that while they were, having this year-long conversation with this person, that, they didn't change. They just thought they had this image or this vision of it being this person. So, unfortunately, people get brainwashed, when you're having this communication of this, this fantasy that you think you're dealing with this individual, and you have these chats, these communications, and you give intimate details about yourself. So, like the video says, kind of like these illustrated, it's like it's just someone on the other end of the computer that you have no idea who you're talking with. Next slide, please, Donna. So again, play it safe. Don't give out any personal information if you're talking with someone online. Turn off location settings on your mobile phone, on your computer. You don't want to get them, give those out or let them know where you actually are. Again, on the image that you see or they send, the name, the email, you can search these things and try and do a little research yourself to see if you're actually talking with a real person or a legitimate person. So, just don't give that personal information out right away. So some of the ways to protect yourself, protect parents, seniors, create a fraud safety net for you and your family. So basically, have someone you can go to that you can talk, make a comfortable situation. One of the largest problems that we find with, going unreported, these scams or these lottery things, especially if it was an elderly person or a senior, they feel ashamed of themselves that they were taken advantage of, how could they, fall for this. Also if children give them a hard time about it, yell at them, then they're not going to want to be open and honest and tell you about it because they're going to be ashamed and they don't want to get yelled at. And so, create that safety net where it's an environment that the senior or parent or elderly aunt or uncle can go and talk to you and be able to share that with you instead of feeling like basically villainized for doing something that unfortunately they were a victim of. Slide, please, Don. So just some consumer fraud resources that we have, the Federal Trade Commission, if any could be reported, any scams that you're seeing, AARP, Fraud Watch Network, of course, the United States Postal Inspection Service, USPIS.gov, the Attorney General's Office, the Department of Justice, Office for Victims of Crime, the Better Business Bureau, and the credit bureaus, as well are all resources that you can find information if you become a victim of fraud or a victim of identity theft. One of the things that I will, go ahead, Donna, next slide. Okay, so again, if you're a victim of fraud or someone you know is a victim of fraud, you can report it to the Postal Inspection Service. This is our number here, or postalinspectors.uspis.gov. Also the Federal Trade Commission, this is their phone number and website, and also file a report with your local police department.
Yes, it's very important that you report it, because if you don't report it, it can't be investigated. And we can't get these individuals off the street if you don't let us know what's happening. Bernard, I think we're going to turn this over to you now.
Hey, thank you so much for such a great and informative presentation. AARP has our Fraud Watch Network, which is a nationwide effort to arm people with the tools that they need to spot and avoid scams. So please, for more resources, go on to online, aarp.org/Fraud Watch Network. You can sign up. You can get bi-weekly watchdog alerts, learn about scams right in your area, how to avoid them. We have a scam tracking map. so you can learn more and share more information about latest scams. We also have watchdog alerts by texting FWN to 50757, and we have a helpline as well. You know, I hear it all the time, recent victims of identity theft. I mean, they know firsthand how disruptive, how extremely violating it is. It's hurtful, it's life-changing being a victim of fraud. So thank you so much for joining us today, learning more how to protect you and your loved ones. Great presentation. I want to thank our presenters. I want to thank Herald Long Island team. You know, to connect with AARP Long Island, you can do that by going to aarp.org/local. You can learn more about informational webinars like this one, upcoming in-person events. We have lots of volunteer opportunities for everyone. And you can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/AARP Long Island.
Great stuff. And, you know, and by the way, one thing that I hope that all of our the viewers picked up from this is that you could be one of the smartest people in the world and get caught up in these scams. It's so easy. These scam artists are so good. And I know there's a lot of people who are embarrassed when that happens, when they find out they are a victim, because like, oh, how could that have happened to me? You know, but they're very good. And so and seeing these warning signs and seeing it, you know, as you know, how they do it and how they approach it. I mean, that's so important, I think, out there. And so Donna, Michael, it's so great to be able to explore all of that and to make sure that we have all that information, anything that we can arm ourselves with to know how they do it. And so then when we know that, then we can identify when it's happening and hopefully, you know, prevent it from happening. We do have time if you have a few minutes. We have a few questions if you guys are
Absolutely.
for a couple of minutes. You know, what are banks doing to prevent elder financial abuse? Like we always hear about everybody, you know, this is happening. Are banks able to do anything? What are they doing to help prevent this?
So yeah, that's a great question. I mean, a lot of times, you know, banks, it really all depends, right? So sometimes you have some great tellers who will see that customer come in all the time, and then all of a sudden they'll start to see large withdrawals and, you know, take cash out. So I know banks, like they are starting to ask those questions of their customers, but, you know, unfortunately, it's one of those things that they can only ask so much. And, you know, depending on the story that they get from their customer, it could be like, oh, I'm sending it for here or sending from there. But they will, hopefully, if the bank, you know, is suspicious of something, they will contact law enforcement or send a message to law enforcement. And I know Bernard, I believe that AARP has a program they're trying to work with, so kind of segue into that. And
thank you, Michael. Yes, for that participant to address that question, AARP does have a program called AARP Bank Safe Initiative, and we're working with banks to offer tellers more training on how to spot scams and fraud at that level. So my request to that person who asked that great question is, if you have relationships with your tellers and bank representative, mention AARP Bank Safe Initiative, and they can learn more by going onto our site, aarp.org, and you can learn more about that initiative and encourage them to sign up and be participants. Bank Safe will offer that training, that more education to those banks.
So, and thanks for that, Bernard, too. That sounds fantastic, actually. So what about this? So let's say that you discover that you know you've been kind of getting drawn in, but luckily you haven't sent any money, you haven't done anything like that, but you have given your social security number. Is there anything you can do at that point? What should you do once you give out your social security number?
Sure, there's actually several things you can do. I mean, if the three credit reporting agencies, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, you can basically freeze your credit. So if you go to each site individually, you're able to put what they call a freeze on it, and that basically prevents your credit or your social security number from being used to open up any new credit cards, bank accounts, anything, take out any loans. If you have been the victim of identity theft or your social security number has been stolen and you have a police report, then you can actually, normally that credit freeze, you'll have the credit freeze, but then you also have a fraud alert, which if your credit is used, you'll get alerted that, someone tried to use your credit, or that that the company, the credit bureaus or what institutions are trying to use it, they'll get alerted as well that, hey, this is a victim of identity theft, the social security number has been stolen. So, basically a red flag, don't open any account. If you have a police report and you file it with them, then they extend that from 1 year to 7 years. So again, the freeze is the best thing, and it doesn't affect your credit at all. So it's a good thing. You can turn it on and turn it off as you need it. You just get either like a password or a PIN number. One of the other things too is each credit reporting agency, you're guaranteed one free credit report every year. So if you get one report and space it out from the 3 credit reporting agencies, you could take a look at your credit report and see if there's any accounts on it that you don't recognize. And then you can try and go back to the credit reporting agencies and say, like, this isn't me, this isn't mine, so please remove it. Finally, there are some paid subscriptions too that you can have. I mean, credit card companies offer it, some banks are offering it. It's an identity theft protection. Even the credit reporting agencies, TransUnion, Experian, Equifax, they also have a similar service where you pay a monthly fee, and they'll basically monitor your credit. So if anybody tries to open up credit on your account, you'll get alerts. Hey, someone's trying to open up your credit on your account, and they'll give you that, that notification that your social security number has been used to open up an account somewhere. So a lot of different things that you can do, but it's just a matter of choice. You can do the free one, which is, look at your credit report on your own every 4 months per year, or you could pay for a subscription service where they'll monitor your credit for you, and a lot of times they'll have protection too. So if your identity is stolen or you lose money, they will pay up to maybe $1 million in loss. So, again, just a matter of personal preference.
And Social Security has a program going right now. It's called Slam the Scam that we're participating in at the Postal Inspection Service. So you'll be able to go online to Social Security and look up fraud, and you should see information there as well.
Fantastic. And one last quick question, and we've all been on here, a few times now, and it's been fantastic. Every single time I learned something new, and I'm sure everybody else does as well. But I've talked before, my father, I'm here in Long Island, but my father lives in Florida. He's going to be turning 90 this year, which is unbelievable for me. But, but he lives in Florida. He lost something like $10,000 to a scam. And so I'm constantly worried about him, so far away. What advice do you have for our elder parents who live in another state about phone calls and scams and such? I mean, like, how do we protect them from, especially from far away? How do we protect them?
Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, the biggest thing is education, and it kind of goes back to that fraud safety net that we talked about. Like, make an environment where they feel comfortable contacting you and saying, hey, like, I got this call, I'm not quite sure, someone's trying to sell me something, what do you think? Or, hey, I think I made a mistake. It kind of starts with you, like having that open communication with them where they know that they can call you at any time and ask you something. Again, like, maybe you want to be power of attorney over their finances as well. Like, make sure that, you're added to their bank accounts and that you're getting notifications or credit cards or stuff like that. Like, nobody's trying to take away their freedoms, but you're just there to kind of help see things through. Again, or maybe get the copies of their bank statements or credit card statements like mailed to you, or get an additional copy so you could review it and make sure that there's no extraneous charges on it. Just education is the biggest thing. Hey, if you get a call from someone and says, hey, it's me, or it's your grandson or granddaughter, like, call me and find out. Like, don't give anyone money, because no one's ever afraid to we're not afraid to talk to each other or let us know when someone's in trouble. So again, making that safety net is key, where they can do contact you and always get in touch with you and kind of run things past you, so that they know that if they're being scammed or it might be too good to be true, they can call you and talk to you about it. Again, if they're getting repeated calls, then just don't hang up. Don't be so nice. Just hang up the phone. That's the best way. And if they can't deal with the calls anymore, change your phone number, right? Like, it's not that difficult to change your phone number, change a cell phone number. Or if they don't recognize the number, don't pick up. Or if they don't recognize the person sending them the email, they don't recognize where it's coming from, hang up, ask for the number, or call back. So, these are good things. I think good tactics, good ways to do it. But, key again is maybe if they're willing and they feel comfortable, like, become their power of attorney or help them with their finances or their assets, and make sure that you're getting notifications if there's an extraneous charge on a credit card or if there's too much of a withdrawal. Like, make sure that, you're on there. Again, you're not trying to take away their freedoms or think that they have to be dependent on you or have to ask you to spend their money, but, it's just try and explain to them that you're just there to help protect them and to help them out, and, you're not trying to control anything. So I think if you do that and you have a great safety net, these are ways that you can help them living in another state and you being here, and just trying to look out for them.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. My dad will pick up all the calls from the scammers, but send me the voicemail. So,
yeah, exactly. Hey, I got this call. What do you think of this? Yeah, just hang up. It's a scam.
So anyway, thank you both. Thank you, Donna, Michael, for all this fantastic, extremely valuable information. And also, thank you, Bernard, as well. Great stuff. And for those of you who missed earlier when Bernard was talking about the shredding events, anybody who's here within the next 24 hours, you're going to receive a thank you email from us, and it's going to have all the information you need. It's also in our chat, by the way, all the information you need on our shredding events and everything else that's coming up. So please make sure you check your email or check the chat right here, and we'll definitely share that with you. Also, if you have any other questions, if you want more information in general about Herald InsideLI webinars, just give us an email at InsideLI@liherald.com. That's InsideLI@liherald.com. For Donna Harris, Michael Giudice, and Bernard Macias, I'm Michael Himman. Thank you again, and have a great afternoon, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.